My name is Meg Robinson, and I'd like to introduce Astrid Walschot Stapp, who is a fellow harpist and an amazing person who has been very important in my life as a wonderful mentor for the harp, and her guidance and encouragement is really the reason that I started writing music for the harp. And I was talking to Mary Radspinner, publisher of Afghan Press, head of Afghan Press and Melody Music, and wanted to focus on mentors because she thought they were really important. And Astrid came into my mind right away for me as being really important and a pivotal person in my life. And so I thought it would be great to do an interview. So welcome, Astrid.
Thank you. So nice to be here.
It's great to see you. Astrid and I always have a lot of fun and a lot of laughs through the lessons and the time that we've known each other. And Astrid, you were born in Holland, and you started playing harp at what age?
About nine years old.
9 years, okay. And you studied there. You wound up coming to the States and studying with Susan McDonald, right?
That's right. Also an amazing mentor.
Yes, she was a mentor to you. So we keep kind of passing down this mentorship from, one person to the next. And it's very interesting. And of course, you've been the harpist with the Baltimore Symphony. And we were talking, Astrid, earlier that I think I began studying with you in the early 2000s.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. And maybe, I don't know if you want to tell it, you want me to tell it. So I was coming in and I had just taken up the harp.
Yeah,
and
You were so cute because you said, I am a composer and I played the mandolin?
The guitar, yeah.
And you said, I want to start composing for the harp, and that's why I want harp lessons. And I just remember it was so much fun. We always would end up laughing, and you caught on really fast. And then very early on, when you started composing and you showed me some of the things you wrote, I just thought they had such catchy, wonderful melodies, and yeah, it was always a joy when you came in.
Well, I appreciate that. And I would come in and I had no point of reference because, I had not studied the harp before, didn't know anything. And I think, I really believe without your encouragement, I wouldn't have tried to continue to write and compose for the harp and then get these pieces published. It was your belief in me, essentially, that made me start to believe in myself and believe that it was possible. But you also are a composer. Why don't you talk about your composing for the harp?
Well, first of all, like when I was thinking about mentorship, last week when you told me to start thinking about it, what you just said, you really hit the head on the nail, or the nail on the head. That it really is, a mentor is really somebody who sees what's inside of you, and it's just like a soundboard. It's like a mentor sees the treasure within you, and that give and believes in you, and gives the how do you say that, the permission to be who you truly are. And that's, you share with me about politics and the music world and what could keep you back, and I was like, no, forget all that, just write and play, and you have so much, seriously, like so many amazing melodies that came out of you, and when you played it for me, then I just would feel like, oh, let's do a little bit of this, and then we laughed and incorporated. Yeah, it's just wonderful.
Well, one thing that you said, which I think is really, really important um, in anything, but we talked about the intensity of the harp world. It's competitive, it's very intense. And here I am kind of coming in through a side door to start playing the harp and then start writing right away for the harp. And I was trying to write pieces that were not too hard because, of course, I wasn't a very accomplished harpist. So I was trying to get a lot of bang for my buck, trying to play pieces that were melodic, but that weren't too difficult because there's so much difficult music out there for harp. But one thing you did, I think, was really when you said, forget about the way people normally do it or the paths that people normally take in the harp world, because you need to just focus on what you're doing and, try. That made a big impression because I was getting I was getting permission basically from someone who I consider to be an amazing harpist. And you said it's okay, for you to be doing this and to be writing and to because I didn't have credentials, I hadn't gone to, college
You
to
mentioned,
huh?
you mentioned what's you went for a short time to, what was it, like one of those big music schools?
Because yeah, I know what you're thinking about. I went to Case Western Reserve University, and Cleveland Institute of Music was affiliated with the college. And I took a few, I think this is what you're talking about. I took a few courses there. Um, and I found it to be incredibly intense. And for me at my stage, I just was not in a position or I just didn't feel that I would be able to go through a program like that. And I think that's what you're talking about. And it and so it's not the formalistic kind of training that you've had, and that so many accomplished harpists have had. And that was what was holding me back in a way, thinking, well, I didn't go to a conservatory. Is that what you're thinking about?
Yeah, and when I said cutthroat in the hard world, I meant just in the music world in
Oh,
general.
absolutely. Yeah.
It was like what you were worried about, that you were not accomplishing enough. That was the best, because if harpists, they study blah blah blah, and if they want to start composing, you have all those ideas in your head how it has to be, but you had the approach of, say, somebody who begins to learn how to play the harp, and you had this wealth of melodies in your head. And so you, when you heard it in your head and put it on the harp, that was that is amazing for all other beginner harpists, because they can start playing, and it's composed by somebody who started as well, and so it lays really well in the fingers. And you cannot do that. Say if I would try to write a piece for beginning harp, I would think, oh yeah, using only thirds or fourths or whatever. But you just heard the music and you did what with the technique you had at that point, and that's the treasure. Yeah, and now,
Yeah.
of course, then you started playing more and more, and your technique improved and stuff. But uh, yeah, just it's
Yeah.
different.
Well, I think too that part of the job of a mentor, because that's kind of the theme of this, is to help the person believe in themselves. And of course, you studied with one of the greats, Susan McDonald, and she was at Indiana University. And talk a little bit, if you can, about your relationship to her and how she was a mentor to you.
Yeah, she gave me permission to be who I really was. Um, Coming from, well, my first harp teacher ever, Katja Norman, she, for the first year, she said, you do not look into a book, no note reading whatsoever. I had to improvise, I learned technique, and she allowed me to start improvising and just playing music without actually looking at the music. And then I studied with Bess France and Trésia Rieu. And in Europe, there was a lot of both wonderful, wonderful teachers, and they were mentors in all kinds of ways. Everybody all my teachers contributed something different. But when I went, they built me up with the technique. And
This was in Holland.
in Holland.
Yeah.
Yes. And but when I came to Ms. McDonald, she in Europe, it's like you have to play exactly in the style of, this period, blah blah blah, and that's all very important. But when I came to Ms. McDonald, it felt like sort of like I could breathe, because I looked so up towards her, and I thought, oh, she's gonna tell me I need to play more in the style of this, or I need to not be as exuberant or putting too much of my heart into it. But she said everything I did was fine. She let me be who I was, and she taught me a lot of fingerings I could use to musically make things sound better. And she allowed every student to be who she or he was. And so you could have two impromptus by Fauré, and they could sound totally different because they were played by different people. And
That's interesting.
yeah.
When did you start to compose for the harp?
That's a good question. My first year, just improvising, and then I just recently found a little piece I wrote down. So that was when I was very young. Then a long time, nothing, nothing, nothing. And then when I started, it kind of happened out of a very, very difficult period. I came down after giving birth, and my daughter had needed lots of heart surgeries. It was a very stressful time, and then my immune system crashed, and I became paralyzed, and I couldn't play anymore, and it turned out to be Lyme disease. And what comes with Lyme disease, musical hallucinations. And I would just sit still. I couldn't play anymore, but I heard all those beautiful pieces of music in my head, and I thought I was going crazy. And I was very mourning the loss of being able to play. And then I thought, you know what? I will just try to write the pieces I hear down. And that's how I started composing.
And now Dragonfly is very important in your life. I know it symbolizes, I believe, your relationship with your father. Do I have that right? Yeah. You're wearing a dragonfly. There's a dragonfly on your harp. And so were you thinking of him when you wrote this piece?
Yes. So when my father was dying, and I couldn't be there, and I felt so bad, and suddenly there was this dragonfly in my room. All the doors and windows were closed. We don't live near a lake or anything, and my father loved dragonflies. And so when he was dying, there was this dragonfly in my living room, and it sat on a picture frame with the picture of my father and me. And it really I felt his presence there. and it was very comforting. And ever since, if I'm sad or somehow a dragonfly turns up in the summer, some on my wedding date, I forgot it was my wedding anniversary. There was this dragonfly who sat on my finger for 20 to 30 minutes. Another year, it sat in my hair. I mean, it's incredible.
Wow.
So, so when, yeah, I wrote this piece for my father.
Well, I'd love to hear the piece.
Okay.
What a great story. Oh, that's so, so beautiful. That's amazing. And, you know, one thing about the way you inspired me, besides your beautiful playing, is your expressiveness. I mean, I can see those dragonflies fluttering around. I mean, seriously, and there's so much soulfulness in your playing, and so much expressiveness. And that's something, you know, you're telling a story with that piece, I feel like, you know, and that's, I don't know, in writing the music that I've written for harp, I feel it's sort of similar, you know, to do that. But that was beautiful. Thank you so much for.
Because when you write, when you started writing and you took your pieces to the lessons, you inspire me, and I was like, oh, listen, now we can do this and then this and.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I wouldn't think there'd be anything I could add to the way that you approach the harp and the way that you play it and whatever. But I think it is a sort of synergistic thing that, you know, that when we're together, you know, you inspire me and I may make a difference in what you're doing. And it is kind of like this circle that I think is really interesting. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about mentorship, that it's not just one way, you know, and I feel that way too. By the time the viewers see this, I don't know where you will be in that process, but I know you're going to be publishing with Afghan Press, and getting some of these pieces out there for others to appreciate and to play. And I have been encouraging you to do.
Yeah, I'm just so thankful.
Well, it's funny how, you know, they say what goes around comes around. But the idea of mentorship is that even the person doing the mentoring, you know, it's not just giving, it is a circular thing, and they wind up giving back too. So you mentioned Eliana, your daughter, who went through some very challenging times as an infant and a young girl, and you and your husband Will were just incredible, fighters, and were just have all along done everything you can, and now she's thriving. She's 12 now, is she?
Yeah, she's 12, and yeah, she's doing amazing. And the funny thing is, when you dedicated a song, a composition to her, and that was when I don't even know if you know this, Meg. Okay, maybe I told you, maybe not, but for the viewers, let's see here. So there are all those roses.
Yes.
So, and I didn't know you were gonna write this piece for Ileana. So,
I know you did, because I wrote it and then I presented it to you. But while I was working on it, I don't think you knew. Yeah.
And so Ileana was given up. She needed. She had a severe heart defect. She was given up at Hopkins the hospital. Basically, was sent home to die, and we were all kinds of miracles happened, and we found out the name of a doctor in the West Coast, Dr. Frank Henley, who ended up saving her life. Mm-hmm. But that was when you wrote that piece. That was in the time that we did not know if she would make it. Mm-hmm. I had to give, and we were trying to get to the West Coast, not knowing if she would survive. And I had to give her lots of shots, Lovenox shots, and they're very painful. And she was a baby, and it was very thick syringe. Mm-hmm. And in order for me to be, and I had to do twice a day. And in order for me to do this, I had to put a lot of ice around my heart to hurt my daughter. And so I became very, I never had that ever in my life before. I became very, everything seemed gray, depressed. Um, but I had, I think it was because of the layer of ice I had to put around my heart. And it was so weird. I wasn't hungry. I didn't eat much. And I thought, oh, this is how people must feel who are really depressed. And I had never had experienced that in my life before. Then, Meg, and that's where you came in. I had, and we didn't know if we had the money to go to the West Coast. We didn't know if she would survive, etc., etc. Then I dreamt this dream, and in my dream, uh, I was in those hallways. Everything was marble, and it was a banquet, and there were so many pink, the same color roses of your music.
Really?
Wow,
And you mean this was before you saw the cover?
that's right. Before,
I
and I
heard
was,
that. No, I.
yeah, you didn't hear? Oh, Meg, you will love it. It was like there were roses being brought, and everything was marble and long hallways, and and it was like with the message, everything will be all right, and we're proud of you. Keep on going. Well, so I woke up. Then I woke up, and the depression I had completely had lifted. That day, the following day, I got your surprise mail with the piece of
Oh, you
Ileana with the roses, and I thought, oh my God, those are the exact honest. They were exactly the same roses, the same color. And then a week later, I got called by the National Gallery of Art and asked if I wanted to play a recital there. And I said no, because the surgery of Ileana and everything. And but they said, no, 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 we will pay you $4,000. And then when I went there and I played there, I never had been paid that much to play a concert, and that enabled us to fly to California. But when I was there, all the marble, the columns and of my dream,
speak.
they were there
Oh,
as well. So this dream of I woke up and my depression lifted. You wrote that piece, and the same flowers were in my dream, and then the National Gallery was there, and that was also from the dream.
yeah.
So whenever I play this piece, I had to think of this, and it gives so much hope. And then talking about mentorship, then afterwards I started mentoring. You can also do outside of music. So
Mhm.
out of the pits of darkness, something good can come. And this piece, your piece, and then I started a blog trying to save as many children, babies with the same heart defect of Ileana. And now the hospitals also from the East Coast are starting to send babies to the West Coast. So there's much more between heaven and earth, and there's much more also things you cannot see. And
Yeah.
your roses and your peace were in my dream.
And the funny thing about the design of, and then I want you to play it if you would, that would be great. But the funny thing about that is that I don't normally use flowers in my designs. It's a very simple design that I use for all of my harp pieces, but I don't. There are no other flowers that I can think of in any of the pieces. It's not like I always have flowers.
Yeah.
No, I mean I happen to love roses, but that was just also pretty unusual for me to have pink roses. I guess I was thinking of a little girl and, all of that. But I would love for you to play it.
Okay, I will.
Great. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. You do me proud as a composer because nobody could play it as well or as with as much feeling as you. So that means a lot to me. Thank you for doing that. Yeah.
So, and Meg, seriously, I mean, that dream, that was incredible because nothing could get me out of the depression, and that dream came, and then I mean then the next day that mail was like a confirmation that everything would be okay.
Yeah. Well, I had no idea. I'd never heard that story before, leading up to the day that you got the piece. But that's really, all these things happen in the world, and there are interconnections, and maybe we don't totally understand everything about them. But I know you've always been like that your whole life, very intuitive and plugged into a lot of spirituality. And I think it shows in the way that you play and in the way that you mentor too. So we're going to continue this circle because I'm very excited by the fact that you're going to be publishing some of the beautiful pieces that you've written, and they're going to be made available through Mary Radspinner. Very happy about that. And I like to think that, I had something to do with encouraging you to do that. So
Yes.
it's a circle that comes around right now. And so very happy about that. And so I think that's pretty much it as far as, we could talk forever, of course, you and I, about all kinds of things, but I hope if nothing else, people besides, enjoying your beautiful playing, can see what an important thing it is to have a mentor and how significant it is in helping a person to believe in themselves and what they can do, just like Susan McDonald was for you. You were to me and continue to be, and it's just great. So do you have anything else you'd like to say or add? Or
not on the top of my head. Off the top of my head.
Well, we'll wrap it up and maybe we'll revisit. Maybe we'll do another interview once you have a couple pieces out there. But Astrid, I want to thank you so much for being willing to do this. It was just a walk down memory lane for me to talk about some of the things we talked about, and what a great mentor you have been and continue to be, and just you're a source of inspiration for me.
And the same here. You are an inspiration to me, and it's so wonderful to see you, even if it's just not, if it's over Zoom.
I know. Well, that's the world we live in now, but it's still okay, and I look forward to when we can meet face to face again. And want to thank
music. We are so lucky that we play the harp because we can play music. We, the right hand, the left hand, melody.
I totally agree. I feel very lucky that we've been able to do music, and that just fills us up during this time. And it's really been, in a way, I mean, obviously, besides all the very difficult things that have gone on, I feel like we're blessed to be able to play the harp and to enjoy this magical instrument, So, and you were there at the beginning, Astrid. So thank you so much. And I hope to see you soon in person, face to face.